Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. And boy, do we have a busy show in store for you this morning. There's a lot to cover from over the weekend. We're going to get to it as much of it as we possibly can. As always, if you are new to the show, you see that number on the bottom of the screen. You can reach out at any time. Send your comments in, as a few did after Friday's show. We read viewer comments brought to you by Steuben Senior Services Fund, empowering seniors to age at home. And speaking of Steuben Senior Services Fund, Mark writes in. Good morning, Mark. We had a great time at Bubbly and Brunch. Oh, that's wonderful. Bubbly and Brunch was the fundraiser for Steuben Senior Services Fund. We had a couple tickets to give away here on the program. Mark was lucky enough to win them. I'm glad that you had a good time, Mark. It looked like it was going to be a fun time. And now in New York, prisoners can make free phone calls. Totally ridiculous. I guess Hochul needs prison votes. Yes, I saw that. We meant to get to that last week, and I don't think I ever did. I saw it on Empire Report that, yes, prisoners can now make free phone calls. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning. Well, good morning. Is Iceland still in the works? Have you heard anything? Are we going to buy it or not? It was Greenland, I believe, wasn't it? I know, that was such a big story, and it's like the typical Trump news cycle. It is now lost to memory. I have not heard anything more about that. Seems like there's maybe bigger fish to fry at this time, which we're actually going to get to one of them, which is the biggest deal ever made with the European Union, according to Trump. But before that, I thought you'd find this interesting. Sometimes we talk about culture in general to kick off the program. Americans spend nearly half their day online, splitting that time almost evenly between watching videos or TV shows and working, browsing, and shopping, according to a new survey. Eric Bruno, a senior vice president of product management for Optimum, whose telecommunications firm interviewed 2,000 U.S. residents. He said this new survey was eye-opening. We are amazed to see how many hours folks are watching, shopping, and browsing online on a daily basis. It underscores how important a strong, affordable, and reliable internet has become in today's world. On average, screen zombie Americans spend more than 10 hours daily. 10 hours daily accessing the web. They spend 5.4 of those hours browsing, working, gaming, looking at social media, reading email, or paying bills. They spend another 5 hours streaming video or TV content. A majority of people, 55%, use their television to stream shows or movies, followed by 20% with mobile phones and 25% combined using laptop or desktop computers. Your thoughts on that? There could be something to be said about that. Maybe time to back away from the screen time if you are this Florida County School Board chair. I mention this because we've talked on this program, and it's not a new trend, but using a tragedy or a sad event to get political. And how many times have we had examples of that? Well, people being fired from their job, for instance. That one lady for what she said about the Texas flooding, saying that the MAGA voters get what they deserve. Well, out of Florida, a Florida County School Board chair, Sarah Rockwell, has apologized for the Facebook comments she made celebrating Hulk Hogan's death as, quote, one less MAGA in the world. Oh, did Hulk die? I didn't even know. Good. One less MAGA in the world, said the since deleted post. Rockwell added he worked with the McMahons to union bust professional wrestling. He's never been a good guy. I feel absolutely nothing about his death. Now, let's say you did feel absolutely nothing about Hulk Hogan's death. Why do you have to share that with the world and turn it political? Well, her comments went viral, so she deleted it and apologized. And she apologized on her official school board Facebook account. Quote, a few days ago, I made a cruel and flippant comment from my personal Facebook account on a friend's post regarding the death of Hulk Hogan. I deeply regret making that comment and have since removed it. I want to make it very clear that I never have and never will wish harm on anyone, regardless of whatever we share political views. While I strongly disagree with some of the comments Hulk Hogan made, that is no excuse for my comment. Isn't that weird, though? Even at the end, you still have to make sure the world knows that you disagree with Hulk Hogan politically. After he has passed away, I also sincerely apologize for the way my comments had eroded confidence in my ability to represent all student, families, and staff in Aluka County. I want to assure all of you that the best interest of your children and our public schools are at the center of everything I do as a board member. I hope I've shown that my record of advocacy for children, families, and staff members throughout Aluka County. Again, I apologize for the hurt and distrust I've caused with my insensitive comment. I will continue to do the hard work of putting our children in schools first. I hope that I can earn back your trust. Now, Hogan passed away at the age of 71 last week. We brought that up on our program. A lot of people have been playing that clip of when he spoke at the RNC last year. But again, you see the announcement that Hulk Hogan dies, and what's the first thing you need to do? Tell the world that you don't care and that you're glad there's one less, quote, MAGA in the world. And that person, Sarah Rockwell, on the school board, does she really have the best interest of students and parents if those students or parents are MAGA voters too, if they're Trump supporters? It does raise a question. Now, as I mentioned, the really big news, those are just a couple quick headlines, but Trump said it just took 75 minutes to get what he wanted out of the European Union. That's how long he and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen were away from the cameras. When they returned, Trump was triumphant. Europe agreed to buy $750 billion in American energy products, invest $600 billion in new money in the U.S., and purchase additional U.S. military equipment. Tariffs on many American exports will drop to zero. Duties on most European goods coming into the U.S. will rise to 15%. I think it's the biggest deal ever made, Trump said. The stated terms of the tariff deal appear to be remarkably lopsided in favor of the U.S. Von der Leyen suggested that the only real concession from the Americans was that Trump would not impose 30% tariffs that he had threatened. The 27-member bloc is America's biggest trading partner, if taken together, with total trade hitting $1.97 trillion last year. The U.S. trade deficit for goods was $235 billion. The deal avoids a trade war between two economies that account for about 44% of the world's gross domestic product. Less than a week before steep Liberation Day, we're set to bite. I think we both wanted to make a deal, the president said. It's going to bring us close together. I think this deal will bring us very close together. Before announcing the agreement, both Trump and von der Leyen put the odds at making a deal at 50-50. The European leader had flown to Scotland to meet Trump at his Turnberry golf course. Did you see, speaking of that, well, there's something interesting about the golf this weekend. But the starting point was an imbalance, a surplus on our side and a deficit on the U.S. side, the EU boss said. And we wanted to rebalance the trade relation, and we want to do it in a way that trade goes on between the two of us across the Atlantic. Both sides also agreed to have 0-for-0 tariff rates on a number of strategic products, such as aircraft and component parts, certain chemicals, certain generics, semiconductor equipment, specific agriculture products, natural resources, and critical raw materials. Part of the arrangement also involved a European agreement to purchase a vast amount of military equipment from the U.S., though Trump noted we don't know what that number is yet. Van der Leyen and Trump both shook hands and commended each other on the deal. European negotiators have sought to score a 10% tariff from the U.S., mirroring Trump's baseline rate against foreign countries, and the preliminary trade deal he inked with the U.K. in May. One of the goals for Europe was to bring down U.S. tariffs on automobile exports. Trump imposed a 27.5% rate on autos in April. Trump predicted that American auto manufacturers and farmers would be among the happiest constituencies with the deal. I think maybe cars would be one that would go the biggest, and the second would be agriculture, the farmers, he said. Trump also signaled that pharmaceuticals won't be a part of the deal. He was planning, because his administration is planning to be more aggressive to reshore manufacturing in that sector. Pharmaceuticals are Europe's largest export to the U.S. Trump threatened 200% tariffs on those products last month. He also clarified that his steel and aluminum tariff policy is staying the way it is, meaning that would remain at the 50% worldwide rate that Trump announced in June. The EU boss signaled plans to have a quota system on steel and aluminum, but didn't elaborate. Von der Leyen hailed Trump as a tough negotiator and deal maker and fair, Trump interjected. The EU boss also characterized negotiations with the U.S. president as very difficult and acknowledged the visible tension between the two before they reached agreement. Representative Ashley Hinson, Republican from Iowa, saying another historic trade deal, another big win for America. President Trump is winning nonstop. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, who was part of Trump's delegation, billed the deal as a significant breakthrough. President Trump just unlocked one of the biggest economies in the world. The European Union is going to open its $20 trillion market and completely accept our auto and industrial standards for the first time ever. Stephen Moran, chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors, wagged his finger at traditional economists who doubted Trump could pull off 15% tariffs on the EU. Wrong. You owe an apology to the president. Another huge failure for elite consensus. So far, Trump has cut preliminary tariff deals with the UK, Vietnam, Japan, Indonesia, and the Philippines. The president teased that his team recently locked down another deal but didn't specify which country. He also has a variety of tariffs in place now, such as 25% rates on automobiles, aluminum, and steel, as well as 25% on imports from Canada and Mexico that don't comply with the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement. He also recently mused about jacking up tariffs in Canada and Mexico. So again, the biggest deal ever made, according to Trump, with a deal with the European Union, where the Europeans will buy $750 million in U.S. energy and invest $600 billion after meeting with the president. All right. Well, we're running late already. I could feel it's going to be a fun show this morning. We have quite a few things here about New York that we're going to talk about in just a little bit. We also have just some updates on President Trump in general. Got a couple of updates from last week. Yes, a little bit here about Epstein. I don't want to focus too much of our time on Epstein, but I know that is the big story of the day. So when we come back, just a quick update on Stephen Colbert and what was being said about that over the weekend. Did you happen to watch the Sunday shows? If you did, I was not in town, so I did not. But if you did, I'd love to hear your take on what people were saying. Also, we're going to talk about what Democrats are doing to try to get their, for lack of a better term, sea legs back, to try to get some confidence back, because there's yet another poll showing them at a all-time low in approval ratings. The Democrats, many, according to recent polls, believe that they have become too extreme, too radicalized. Then you see someone like Mamadani from New York City, a socialist Democrat, winning the mayoral primary, and it doesn't maybe help the optics of being so far left. Then you've got a couple of updates here on AOC and some of who you can consider really the face of the Democrat Party. The far left socialists are really the ones that seem to be in the driver's seat currently, with Mamadani's win, AOC getting all the attention. Is there what you could call, quote unquote, moderate Democrats making any strides? Now, some are saying it's kind of a shifting of the guard, where the establishment, the Cuomos, the people that Hunter Biden screamed at last week, the James Carvilles, that they're no longer the kingmakers that they once were, that they are no longer what the people consider on the winning track. So that's why they're headed towards the socialist direction. We can talk about that. But when we come back, just a quick update on Stephen Colbert, the longest quitting or firing, I should say, ever, where he gets nearly a year left in his job. We're going to talk about that as well. We're just getting warmed up. Keep those calls, keep those waves coming in, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Your water is delicious.
I know, right? It's this Culligan Smart drinking water system.
What do you think is going on in there?
I'm smelling a touch of chlorine.
Yeah, I'm detecting some PFAS.
I'm also getting notes of lead.
Perfection.
Sending it up.
Here we go.
Certified to reduce more than 70 contaminants. It's like having your own team of water experts. See the smart difference at Culligan.com.
You don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Stu County Office for the Aging will be hosting a public hearing on Thursday, September 18th at First Presbyterian Church in Bath. This hearing is to review the 2026 annual implementation plan for the Older Americans Act and the Steuben County Office for the Aging. This public hearing will take place at 9 a.m. on Thursday, September 18th in the Fellowship Hall of the First Presbyterian Church in Bath. Copies of the plan will be available at the Office for the Aging.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you for joining us. So there was another protest or rally in support of Stephen Colbert. And we brought that story to you last week where a couple dozen people showed up outside of the Late Show's theater to show support for Colbert. Now, as I mentioned at the time on the program, a couple dozen in Manhattan is just, waiting for coffee at one of those street vendors. So hardly worth reporting. Well, it's gotten even worse, his support. A Big Apple rally in support of his way out, on his way out Late Show host, Stephen Colbert, drew fewer than 24 people Sunday, with even the NYPD cops on scene quickly calling it a day since most of the demonstrators left after just a few minutes. Organizers said the We're With Colbert gathering outside the CBS Broadcast Center on Manhattan's West Side said it was meant to be part of a nationwide call for integrity. A lot of these nationwide protests may be running their course. We asked that question, when are people going to get sick of constantly protesting? Here on Market Street, nearly once a week, sometimes twice a week. I know they've been kind of going back and forth between here and Elmira. At what point do the numbers start dwindling? Do people say, hey, I want to actually spend my weekends in the summer? We have very little summertime in upstate New York. I don't want to spend them outside holding a sign and yelling. Our country's not perfect, never has been, said the event organizer, who would only identify himself as Matt and said his nickname is Slim. Okay, seems a little shady. But we've always had the First Amendment, and now Mango Mussolini, oh, that's his nickname for Trump, Mango Mussolini, is trying to take that from us, referring to a derogatory nickname for President Trump. CBS said declining viewership and diminishing profits, as a matter of fact, they said about losing about $40 million a year, was the reason to end Colbert's show, but others claim that they had bowed to pressure from Trump. I'm not sure if Trump had even spoke. Got a fly in here if you can't tell. I can't remember when Trump specifically called out Colbert recently. But CBS's parent company finalized an $8.4 million merger with Skydance Media shortly after Colbert was told he was on his last season. The merger required federal approval. A protester, one of the dozen or so protesters, said this is a First Amendment attack. We can't stand for that. Now, Jay Leno slammed late night hosts for alienating half of their viewers by targeting just Trump. Why shoot for just half an audience all the time? Why not try to get the whole? Jay Leno said to Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation CEO David Trujillo. I don't understand why you would alienate one particular group, or just don't do it at all. I'm not saying you have to throw your support or whatever, but just do what's funny. Now, he had quite a successful run. Jay Leno, you may want to listen to his suggestions. He said such conflicts are exactly why he pointedly avoided partisan political humor during his 22 years as the king of late night. With one analysis cited by Trulio showing he made fun of both sides of the aisle in equal measure throughout his career. Funny is funny, Leno said. It's funny when someone who's not, when you make fun of their side and they laugh at it, that's kind of what I do. It was fun to me when I got hate letters. Dear Mr. Leno, you and your Republican friends. And well, Mr. Leno, I hope you and your Democrat buddies are happy over the same joke. Leno thinks that a lesson today's late night comedians could take, that they could learn from him. I like to think that people come to a comedy show to kind of get away from these things. The pressures of life, whatever it may be. And I love political humor. Don't get me wrong. But it's just what happens when people wind up cozying too much to one side or the other. You have to be content with half the audience because you have to give your opinion. He also had mentioned Rodney Dangerfield, saying that, he knew Rodney Dangerfield for 40 years and never once knew where he was politically. David Letterman went a different route and attacked CBS. The fact that they killed the franchise and told Stephen to go. Now for Stephen, I love this. He's a martyr. Good for him. 10 years ago, I quit and left. The Stephen Colbert comes along and pretty quickly establishes himself as a precise, crisp, witty political satirist, and often his target has been the current administration. Based on that, and just the overall entertainment quota of the show, drew a great audience, and people became not addicted to, but always looking forward to political satire from Stephen Colbert. He was very good at it. For 10 years, I think, became the face of the network. On July 17th, CBS announced it would cancel Colbert's show in 2026 due to financial reasons. If they were losing this kind of money, you're telling me losing this kind of money happened yesterday? Yeah, right. I bet they were losing this kind of money 6 weeks ago, or they have never been losing money. This is Letterman again. Take a look at CBS News. It's still in business, and I'm not certain that that's a profit center. I think the idea that they're hiding behind money and that they're giving him another 10 months, that's a huge chunk of money they're going to lose. I think one day, if not today, the people at CBS who manipulated and handled this are going to be embarrassed because this is gutless. Now, according to Media Research Center, Colbert has hosted 176 left-leaning guests and only one Republican on soon-to-be-canceled late night. I bet you that Republican is what? Maybe Liz Cheney? Some type of Republican that is known for bad-mouthing Republicans. In just the first 6 months of this year, the show booked 43 left-leaning political guests and 0 conservatives. Colbert's show has been late-night group therapy for liberals, said Newsbusters managing editor Curtis Houck. Americans have continually shown that they no longer have the time or patience for such partisan sneering masquerading as comedy. Colbert's roster included 14 Democrat politicians and 29 liberal journalists or celebrities, including socialist Big Apple lawmakers such as mayoral frontrunner Zohran Mamdani and city comptroller Brad Lander, plus big-name Democrats like Chuck Schumer, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, and Cory Booker. The media crowd featured MSNBC's Chris Hayes, HBO's John Oliver, and New York Times columnist Ezra Klein. Oh, I was right. Former Representative Liz Cheney was the only conservative to appear on The Late Show since 2022, making her Colbert's lone right-leaning guest during that period. And you can argue she's not that right-leaning. But do you feel used if you're Liz Cheney? If you are the only quote-unquote Republican on Stephen Colbert's show, maybe you fell into a trap you didn't intend to be in. But we know that Cheney has been a notorious critic of Trump. Colbert also hosted former Illinois Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger in January of 2025, though the study did not count him in that tally due to his repeated criticism of Trump and comments aligning with Democrats, including a 2024 interview where he said there's nothing more conservative than voting for Kamala Harris. The study's release came a few weeks before CBS announced The Late Show will be canceled in May of 2026. So there you are. Big rally. Not even 24 people showing up in support of Colbert. That's just a quick look Speaking of that, I know I'm running a little bit late, but speaking of pop culture in general, I think it was Andrew Breitbart that used to say politics is downstream from pop culture. And Republicans before Trump had not done a very good job of kind of embracing pop culture or getting into pop culture, very much behind the 8 ball. They are doing a better job now with the Trump factor going on, the podcast, things like that. But now MAGA's plan, according to the Telegraph, is to give liberal Hollywood, quote, a punch in the face. A new generation of flag-waving producers want to take the silver screen back to the golden age, it says here. It's perhaps unsurprising that, as an adaptation of Atlas Shrugged, is among a handful of projects proposed by Founders Film, a new right-wing production company aimed at restoring patriotism to Hollywood. The planned venture, which is being pitched to potential investors, comes amid a broader shift to the right across the U.S. media industry as the return of Trumpian politics triggers a war on woke. Founder Films goes against everything that we know about Hollywood, which is that traditionally it's quite left liberal. It is quite compassionate. It is rarely associated with blood and thunder narratives, says media analyst Alex DeGroot. It's a real punch in the face for woke. Founders Film is being launched by a handful of figures linked to the Silicon Valley data giant Palantir. The company's name is a planned Founders Fund, the tech-focused ventures capital fund launched by Palantir founder Peter Thiel. Documents seen by the U.S. news website Semaphore outline the tech executive's vision for the project, with the ethos described as, quote, say yes to projects about American exceptionalism, name America's enemies, back artists unconditionally, take risk on novel intellectual property. In a post on Substack late last year, Sankar wrote nostalgically about all American blockbusters of yesteryear, including Red Dawn, Top Gun, Rocky IV, The Hunt for Red October. He argued that the U.S. has lost the ability to leverage its film industry as soft power and called for the resurrection of the American cinematic universe, largely, it seems, by portraying Chinese communists as bad guys on the screen. Breaking out of our cultural malaise will require the studios to wake up and choose America. In many ways, it is rekindling of cinema as cultural warfare in a way not seen since the Cold War. Alongside Atlas Shrugged, other projects included films about the evacuation of the World Trade Center on 9/11 and the assassination of Iran's General Qasem Soleimani, as well as The Greatest Game, a thriller spy series that lays bare China's plan to replace the United States as the dominant global power. Sankar pointed to examples of Chinese-ordered censorship and the fact that Disney's Mulan was filmed in Xinjiang as evidence of Beijing's growing sway over Hollywood. The statement is that Hollywood's been captured by a foreign adversary, and there's some good evidence there, said Dr. Dominic Lees, Associate Professor of Filmmaking at Reading University. What they're taking a punt on is that there is a movie-going market for films that counter what they're calling a left-wing agenda. It builds on growing criticism of Hollywood from the right, with criticism leveled at studios for introducing heavy-handed progressive politics into films or removing anything deemed offensive. There you go, just something to keep in mind. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about Epstein. Yes, we are running a little bit late. Stay with us. This is, Frankly Speaking, here at WYDC TV, Big Fox.
I'm Marianne Crawford. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
When you're running, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
J.D. Power has ranked Nissan #1 in new vehicle quality among mainstream brands. And to celebrate, you can now get in one of these award-winning SUVs with 0% APR for 60 months. The all-new turbocharged Nissan Murano, the rugged Nissan Pathfinder, and the best-selling Nissan Rogue. Visit Nissan today and drive away in an award-winning SUV.
Now get 0% APR for 60 months on select popular models or get a low $239 per month lease on Rogue.
Tire World Morning is your back-to-school tune-up authority. Family service you can trust. Save big on all brand name tires, suspensions, oil changes, inspections, tune-ups, and exhaust. We give you peace of mind this school season. Your car, your kid's car, your off-to-college car. We have all kinds of tires for all kinds of vehicles. We love tires. We love maintaining your vehicles.
I would highly recommend them.
We came in, 5 minutes, we're in and out.
Get the job done right the first time.
Tire World of Corning, family service you can trust.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Thank you for joining us. Yes, I was made aware by a couple people, and I do appreciate it. The weather seems to be down there on the side. We'll try to get that up and fixed by tomorrow's broadcast. I just don't think I can do it live during the show, so I apologize for that. So Speaker Johnson said it would be a great service to the country if Jeffrey Epstein's madam, Ghislaine Maxwell, comes clean and discloses the information she has. Johnson acknowledged he is unsure whether Maxwell can be trusted to tell the truth to the House Oversight Committee, which has subpoenaed her for testimony, and argued that she could still face more than 20 years behind bars. This is Meet the Press on ABC's Meet the Press, asking, can she be trusted? He said, well, that's a good question. I hope so. I hope that she would want to come clean. We certainly are interested in knowing everything that she knows. She is convicted. She is serving a 20-year sentence for child sex trafficking, and so her character is in some question. But if she wants to come clean now, that would be a great service to the country, and we'd like to know every single bit of information that she has. On Thursday and Friday, U.S. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, President Trump's former defense lawyer, met with Maxwell in Florida for several hours of questioning. We brought that story to you on Friday, but they were meeting again later that day. Her lawyer said she is still mulling whether to testify before the oversight panel or invoke her Fifth Amendment rights. Trump has said publicly that he hasn't thought about pardoning her, but also stressed, I'm allowed to do it. If you're asking my opinion, Speaker Johnson said, I think 20 years was a pittance. I think she should have a life sentence at least. Think of all those unspeakable crimes, and as you noted earlier, probably 1,000 victims. It's hard to put into words how evil this was, and that she orchestrated it and was a big part of it. I think it is an unforgivable thing. So again, not my decision, but I have great pause about that, as any reasonable person should. Now, Speaker Johnson dealt with the political reverberations. We know that this has become quite a talking point by the media and by the left. We've mentioned it on the program that they see this as a great way to attack Trump. Never had any interest in Epstein for 4 years, but now focused on it laser-like. Last Monday, Democrats on the House Rules Committee, a gatekeeper panel that determines the manner in which most pieces of legislation come up for a vote on the House floor, again attempted to put Republicans on the spot over the kerfuffle. The GOP opted to recess the Rules Committee, which effectively froze up the House of Representatives. Johnson decided to send the House home a day early for the August recess as a result. What we did do this week is end the chaos in the Rules Committee because the Democrats are trying to use this in a shameless manner for political purposes. Quite obviously, they hijacked the Rules Committee and they try to turn it into an Epstein hearing. That's not what the Rules Committee is about. He also said that he would like to see all credible evidence and information released from the Jeffrey Epstein files. Let me be absolutely clear, as we have been from the very beginning. House Republicans insist on the credible related information related to Epstein in any way, but we also insist upon the protection of innocent victims, and our concern is that Massey and Khanna discharge petition is reckless in the way that it is drafted and presented. It does not adequately include those protections. I can't explain all the details of that. The important things on the timing to answer that question first is that we not do anything to end the term of Congress early. Welker said, let me ask you, because I hear you saying that, yes, the files should be made public while protecting the victims. Let me ask you, though, should all the files related to Jeffrey Epstein be released and made public? He said, yes, I agree with President Trump, with the Department of Justice and the FBI, that you need all credible evidence and information out there. The word credible is important. Why? Because you have to protect innocent people's names and reputations, whose names might be, as you noted in the onset of your program, intertwined in all these files. This has been a long legal process. There's reason, for example, the grand jury materials are protected under the federal rules of criminal procedures because they're not to be put out. Trump foe Thomas Massie implored the administration officials to do whatever they need to do to compel testimony from Maxwell. That would be up to the president when it came in reference to a pardon. Massey was on Meet the Press. But if she has information that could help us, then I think she should testify. Let's get that out there. And whatever they need to do to compel that testimony, as long as it's truthful, I would be in favor of it. Now, last, like I said, Trump did say about pardoning Maxwell that he is allowed to do it. Massey's partner in the bipartisan push to force the release of Epstein files, Representative Ro Khanna, split with him on the possibility of Maxwell getting clemency. No, I don't, and I'm concerned when the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, is meeting with her supposedly one-on-one. Look, I agree with Congressman Massey that she should testify, but she's been indicted twice on perjury. This is why we need the files. This is why we need independent evidence. Now, Massey said he is going to force a vote on the Epstein files after the August recess is through. Well, I think we should get a lot more than just the book. Let's get the financial records of the estate, file the money, and they say, as they say up here, we should look at the plea bargain, open that up, see what that deal was, what the deal was that was cut. I think there's a lot more than just that letter. That letter's almost also sort of representative of something that's embarrassing, but not illegal. Another reason why the files may be sealed and stay sealed. But we're going to force a vote on this when we get back from the August recess. Ro Khanna and I are using a procedure called a discharge petition, whereby if we get 218 votes, and we're well on our way to that, 216 signatures, then we can force that vote. If every Democrat signs it, I have 12 Republican co-sponsors, and I only need 6 to sign it. Will they sign it? He was asked. I think the pressure will build over the August recess. I don't think it will dissipate like the Speaker hopes that it will. If merely just half the people who have co-sponsored this legislation follow through and sign it, then it's going to come to the floor for a vote. We've got a couple other things on this, but I realize I'm running a little bit late. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
It's 10 p.m. somewhere. Do you know where your kids are online?
Get for the 183rd Chemung County Fair, July 29th through August 2nd at the Chemung County Fairgrounds in Horseheads. Experience thrilling rides, exciting games, and captivating livestock shows. Taste delicious fair food and explore local vendors. Catch grandstand favorites like truck and tractor pulls, demolition derbies, Black Cat Drivers Stunt Car Show, and the Battle of the Bands on July 31st. Join us for the 183rd Chemung County Fair. Visit ChemungCountyFair.com for tickets and details.
Nearly 5 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds in Horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Your Big Fox, WYDC TV, Elmira Corning.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
If you are one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. I'm sorry, I'm just staring at my screen here. I'm having just a little bit of trouble with our weather, normally on the side of the screen. We'll try to get that worked out for tomorrow's broadcast. But thank you for joining us. If you are new to the show, you see that number on the bottom of the screen. Reach out at any time with your comments. Mark writes in during the Student Senior Services Fund section of the program where we read viewer comments. Mark says, I believe Maxwell will not say a bad thing about Trump. She is looking for a pardon. And why bite the hand that feeds you? It's probably her only way out. Yeah, I don't like the idea personally of a pardon. But I guess if they think that is one, boy, I don't know. I don't know how you justify that pardon, but we'll see. We'll see. The uproar over Jeffrey Epstein could undermine public trust in the Trump administration, as well as Republican hopes of retaining, control of the Congress in the 2026 midterm elections, according to two U.S. lawmakers. Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna, who I had mentioned earlier. Massie said this is going to hurt Republicans in the midterms. The voters will be apathetic if we don't hold the rich and powerful accountable. Republicans hope to add to their current 219 to 212 House majority with 4 seats currently vacant and 53 to 47 Senate majority in November 2026, although the U.S. political cycle traditionally punishes the party of the sitting president during midterm elections. The Washington Post reported late on Sunday that Trump was increasingly frustrated with his administration's handling of this anger around Epstein. Even so, the president was hesitant to make personal changes to avoid creating a bigger spectacle, as his top officials underestimated the outrage from Trump's own base over the issues. I think that is a little overhyped. I would be interested in your thoughts. Has this changed your mind about the Trump administration? Would you no longer vote Republican because of this? I just don't buy that. Yes, I believe there are some quote-unquote influencers who realize this is an opportunity to get some attention by bad-mouthing Trump and his administration. I don't think that's a smart move at the end of the day, but I think that's what some are doing. They're calling Attorney General Pam Bondi's handling of this a crisis of trust by saying there was no list of Epstein clients. This is about trust in government, the California Democrat told Meet the Press. This is about being a reform agent of transparency. President Trump, who on Sunday announced an EU trade deal with Scotland, as I mentioned, had been frustrated by continued questions about his administration's handling of investigative files related to Epstein. Massie and Khanna believe they can win enough support from fellow lawmakers to force a vote, as I mentioned earlier. But they face opposition from Republican leaders, including Mike Johnson, who sent lawmakers home early, as we mentioned. So will this change your opinion about the Trump administration? Oh, we got a fire truck, I think, going by. Does this change your potential Republican vote in 2026? CNN said GOP lawmakers are at odds as Epstein fallout continues. Mounting pressure to respond to calls for transparency appeared last week when a House Oversight Committee voted to subpoena the Department of Justice for files related to Epstein. Maxwell also is going to, I think she speaks with them on, August 11th? But that seems too early, because is that when they're back from break? These developments come as some Republicans question the DOJ's handling of the files, and others urge the administration to share unreleased information with the public. Missouri Republican Representative Eric Burleson on Sunday called it a political mistake for the administration to have raised expectations about new revelations related to Epstein. Quote, I think that part of this problem is that there were some false expectations that are created, and that's a political mistake. I think that saying that you're going to be able to deliver when you haven't even looked at all of the files and what's available was probably a misstep. And we had talked about that, the PR, the optics of it were not handled properly. I like Pam Bondi. I think she's doing a very good job. This is one where she might have just overplayed her hand a little bit. Burleson also said that a large percentage of the calls his office has received in recent days are related to Epstein, with many concerned the government might be keeping secrets from them. Now the House lawmakers are back in their district for August recess. They'll likely be fielding questions about this directly from constituents. On Friday, another GOP representative, Mike Kennedy of Utah, who's a practicing physician, compared the files to a festering oil-infected wound with pus underneath that could get worse if not treated properly. In the case of this Epstein stuff, absolutely let it out. I would say most people are of that mindset to let it out. But you've got to be careful about it, as we mentioned when we had former Congressman Joe Semplinsky on, current Assemblyman, on the program on Thursday. You have to do this with precision, because if someone went to this island and had no idea what Epstein was all about, and when they got back completely disowned it, but their name is put out in the court of public opinion, it could be the end of them, the end of their reputation. So you've got to be very careful about it. Mark Wayne Mullen was on CNN. He said Attorney General Pam Bondi has called on the judges to release it. Trump has called on them to release it, and Congress has called on them to release it. But we can't, because there's a true co-equal branch of government, so we can't force the judicial branch to do anything. The grand jury testimony the department seeks to release, however, is only a small portion of the thousands of documents related to the Epstein investigation and criminal case. Many of those documents are already in DOJ custody and may not have been presented to the jury. Now, Trump, they say, is fuming over this as the Epstein scandal is dominating the headlines. It's become all the questions he's asked. It's overshadowing his agenda. His exasperation follows weeks of missteps and no clear strategy among top officials who underestimated the outrage, especially from the president's base, and hoped the country would forget about the unreleased Epstein files and move on, according to nearly a dozen people close to the situation, many of whom spoke on the condition of anonymity. This is a pretty substantial distraction, said one person close to the situation. While many are trying to keep the unity, in many ways, the DOJ and the FBI are breaking at the seams. Many are wondering how sustainable this is going to be for all the parties involved, be it the FBI director or attorney general. Despite his frustration, Trump has been hesitant to make personal changes. According to another person close to the president, he does not want to create a bigger spectacle by firing anyone. In the center of the storm, of course, is Pam Bondi. Yeah, and something that's different from his last term was a lot of people that he fired early on were easy to fire because they weren't they were his picks, but they were kind of the establishment. Now people like Pam Bondi were his hand-picked people, his loyal supporters, and I don't think he wants to lose them. I don't think he wants to bring even more scrutiny to this and more of attention on it by firing anybody. Trump's right-wing base has turned on him, they're suggesting. A firestorm of criticism has since consumed all three branches of government, giving the Democrats a powerful new line of attack and left Trump struggling to respond to the most intractable political crisis he's faced since his return to the White House. They completely miscalculated the fever pitch to which they built this up. Now they seem to be in the full-bore panic mode, trying to change the subject and flailing in an effort to make sense of what makes no sense. So there you go. There's, do we have one last thing on this when we come back? Stay with us. We'll be right back, frankly speaking, here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about we. Thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC or visit our website at WYDCTV.com.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
The Big's website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather, up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news here now. WYDCTV.com.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you so much for joining us. Comment from a viewer during the Stu Ben Senior Services Fund section of our program where we read viewer comments. Regarding Epstein, first off, there is no evidence implicating President Trump. It's so obvious that the Democrats want you to speculate that there is. I remain steadfast with President Trump. I agree there is no evidence that. That's why the left, the media, and the Democrats are jumping on this. They see it as a way to attack Trump, to attack Republicans. CNN, Fareed Zakari says there is a larger problem for Trump in the Epstein chaos. Ezra Klein begins one of his most recent podcasts by telling a joke that has been making the rounds. Basically, a conspiracy theorist dies and ascends to heaven. God is there to greet him and explains as part of the celestial welcome, he will answer any question the man has. He said, "Please, I must know the answer to this one," the man says. "Who killed John F. Kennedy?" God answers instantly, "That's easy, Lee Harvey Oswald." Shocked, the man murmurs, "This goes higher than I had thought." This is the dilemma in which Donald Trump finds himself. Whatever he does to deflect and distract from the Jeffrey Epstein crisis only deepens the suspicion, including those about the two men's relationship. According to a recent Reuters Ipsos poll, 69% of Americans, including 62% of Republicans, believe the government is hiding Epstein's alleged client list. This is understandable. There are so many unanswered questions about Epstein. How did he become so rich? What is in the mountains of computer files and videos recovered from his homes and properties? Since he had already tried to commit suicide once while in jail, why was he not monitored properly afterwards? But there is a larger problem for Trump. Since the birther charges against Obama, he has encouraged, ridden, and profited from a wave of conspiracy theories that accuse the so-called deep state of all kinds of crimes, which were then quickly covered up. Now he presides over the very state and has control of all the secrets. Why will he not reveal them? Conspiracy theories have a long and rich history in the United States, blah, blah, blah. We're not going to go through all that. Trump is an artful politician who knows how to handle his base. But this time, it is proving tough even for him. Perhaps because he clearly had some kind of relationship with Epstein, he has tried to deflect attention by raising other conspiracy theories, chiefly that Obama tried to organize a coup against him. No, we're getting to that next. He brought up old allegations about Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden, but they have the feeling of desperation about them. As Charlie Warzel notes in The Atlantic, on July 20th, when the questions were mounting, Trump posted on Truth Social 33 times. He demanded that the Washington Commanders football team change its name back to the Redskins and shared an AI-generated video of Obama being handcuffed by the FBI in front of a smiling Trump in the Oval Office. Patel, the FBI director, recently claimed on Joe Rogan's podcast that he has found a secret vault in the FBI full of dark secrets no one had ever seen. Forget about Epstein. They seem to be trying to be saying it turns out there are hundreds more conspiracy theories to dangle in front of the MAGA faithful. It is interesting. I didn't know it was on Joe Rogan's program, but I saw that Dan Bongino posted a cryptic message on social media Saturday, writing that he has learned things since coming to the FBI that shocked him to his core and have changed him forever. Bongino's been at odds with other members of the administration, in particular Attorney General Pam Bondi, over the way the Epstein files investigation has been handled and revealed to the American public. And speculation has been rampant over his future with the agency as a result. CNN even reported that Trump is outraged at him, furious at him. Bongino posted on X and said that he and Director Kash Patel are committed to stamping out public corruption and political weaponization of the FBI and law enforcement. But things took a cryptic and somewhat alarming turn rather quickly in his message. During my tenure here as the Deputy Director of the FBI, I have repeatedly relayed to you that things are happening that might not be immediately visible, but that are happening. The Director and I are both committed to stamping out public corruption and political weaponization of both law enforcement and intelligence operations. It is a priority for us. But what I've learned in the course of our properly predicated and necessary investigations into these aforementioned matters has shocked me down to my core. We cannot run a republic like this. I'll never be the same after learning what I've learned. Whew. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about what Tulsi Gabbard has been up to with the Russiagate links to Hillary Clinton. That's when we come back. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking, wrapping up hour number 1 after this.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmaron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmaron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
It's 10 p.m. somewhere. Do you know where your kids are online?
Tire Warning is your back-to-school tune-up authority. Family service you can trust. Save big on all brand name tires, suspensions, oil changes, inspections, tune-ups, and exhaust. We give you peace of mind this school season. Your car, your kid's car, your off-to-college car. We have all kinds of tires for all kinds of vehicles. We love tires. We love maintaining your vehicles.
I would highly recommend them.
We came in, 5 minutes, we're in and out.
Get the job done right the first time.
Tire World of Corning, family service you can trust.
Nearly 5 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and Horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Your Big Fox, WYDC TV.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. We have a comment from a viewer, which is brought to you by Steuben Senior Services Fund, where we read viewer comments. And if you are new to the show, you see that number on the bottom of your screen. You can reach out at any time. It's going to be hilarious if it's discovered that some Democrats were involved with Epstein. I do so hope there are, and that it comes out before the midterms. The old saying comes to mind, those who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Thank you very much. CIA Director John Ratcliffe on Sunday teased plans to publicly disclose additional files that allegedly helped tie Hillary Clinton to the false claim of Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election. Ratcliffe specifically hinted at underlying intelligence referenced in the annex of the Durham report, which scrutinized probes in the Clinton versus President Trump matchup and is currently undergoing a declassification process. What hasn't come out yet and what's going to come out is the underlying intelligence, Ratcliffe told Maria Bartiromo on Sunday Morning Futures. And what the intelligence shows, Maria, is a part of this was a Hillary Clinton plan, but part of it was an FBI plan to be an accelerant to that fake Steele dossier, to those fake Russia collusion claims, by pouring oil on the fire, by amplifying the lie and bearing the truth of what Hillary Clinton was up to. During the 2016 election cycle, an opposition research file against then-candidate Trump and compiled by ex-M16 spy Christopher Steele was circulated within the intelligence community. The Washington Free Beacon, Clinton campaign, and Democrat National Committee ultimately ended up paying for the research Steele conducted into Trump during the 2016 cycle. The largely debunked Steele dossier was reviewed by investigators in the FBI's Crossfire Hurricane probe into Russia's meddling. Former Special Counsel John Durham, who was appointed by the first Trump administration investigated the FBI probe and criticized the Bureau's handling of the inquiry and a report released in 2023. There is... Whoa, I gotta go. I am running late. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2, mere moments away. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is a start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Steuben Office for the Aging will be hosting a public hearing on Thursday, September 18th at First Presbyterian Church in Bath. This hearing is to review the 2026 Annual Implementation Plan for the Older Americans Act and the Steuben County Office for the Aging. This public hearing will take place at 9 a.m. on Thursday, September 18th in the Fellowship Hall of the First Presbyterian Church in Bath. Copies of the plan will be available at the Office for the Aging.
An albino baby buffalo was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Day one of the National Glider Competition, severe flooding has caused major disruptions in parts of Steuben County.
Throughout the year, prison reform has become a priority around New York State.
Man, we are moving fast this morning. It is hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street Corning. I'm so glad that you've joined us this morning. We were talking about Russiagate. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard just released a trove of apparently once classified documents with promises of much more to follow. The new material describes the role of the Obama administration's intelligence and investigatory directors, purportedly along with Barack Obama himself, in undermining the 2016 Trump presidential campaign. In addition, their efforts extend to sabotaging the 2016-2017 presidential transition and, by extension, the first 3 years of the Trump presidency. The released documents add some new detail to what over the last decade has become accepted knowledge. Congressional committees, special prosecutors, and the Inspector General had all previously issued reports that largely confirmed the general outlines of the skullduggery that began in 2015 and 2016. Hillary Clinton's campaign, later aided by top echelon at the FBI, CIA, and Director of National Intelligence, sought falsely to seed a narrative that Trump had colluded directly with Russia to win unfairly in the 2016 election. So basically what this boils down to is that there's more to the anti-Trump Russiagate plot, and Tulsi Gabbard will unravel it. The media will use Epstein to ignore it. They're already pushing it as a conspiracy theory. Obama, Brennan, Clapper, Comey, and others will likely never face legal consequences for the damage they've done to our institutions and foreign policy. But that does not mean they should be exempt from any ongoing and disinterested efforts to find and finally expose the whole truth, writes Victor Davis Hanson. They're taking it a step further. Representative Jason Crow, Democrat from Colorado, said, well, you know, the allegations and the conspiracy theories by Tulsi Gabbard would be sad if they weren't so dangerous. She has turned herself into basically a weapon of mass destruction, is what I've been calling it, because it's very clear what's happening here. She's trying to curry favor and get back into favor with Donald Trump, and has concocted those theories to do so. But let's be really clear here that the Russian investigation and allegation of Russia interference into the election have been the most examined and re-examined findings in the intelligence community history. There have been four investigations, including a bipartisan Senate investigation led under the first Trump administration and led in part by Marco Rubio. That was very clear, these findings. Lindsey Graham sparred with an NBC anchor over the weekend. You're trying to sweep this stuff under the rug, and that's not right, Graham yelled at Kristen Welker. Where is it here? Welker claimed that she had spoken to Republican former CIA officer Susan Miller, who categorically denied Gabbard's claim. The NBC anchor also pointed to a Trump-appointed special counsel, John Durham, who she claimed concluded in 2023 that there was no political interference in the Russiagate probe. She also played a clip of Graham himself saying in 2017 that the Russians interfered in the election to embarrass Hillary Clinton. Graham said, that's only one person in Washington that I know that has any doubt about what Russia did in our election and is President Trump. What I'm saying is that you left out a lie here. The Mueller investigation was crooked and rotten to the core. The Washington Post said, and the New York Times both got a Pulitzer Prize for reporting on Trump's campaign relationship with Russia. It was all baloney. For years and months and days and weeks, people had their lives turned upside down, chasing the Mueller narrative that Trump was in bed with the Russians and the Trump campaign was colluding with Russia. They're trying to sweep this stuff up under the rug, and that's not right. He also said new evidence requires a special counsel probe into this case. Well, I think somebody needs to look at what we found. The Intel Committee looked at the matter, and they said in 2017, the intelligence analyst of 2017, showing that Russia was trying to interfere in our election was real. They didn't achieve their goal. But what she found, Ms. Gabbard, is that in 2016, the intelligence community told President Obama there's no evidence that Russia was involved in trying to change the outcome of the election. And he supposedly told her group of people to keep looking, and the analysis changed. So what we're looking at is, and what role did Obama play in 2016 to change the narrative that resulted in 2017? I'm not alleging he committed treason, but I'm saying it bothers me. It's disturbing that there's new information. The best way to handle this is they need the evidence of a crime being committed or suspected. Evidence of a crime being committed, create a special counsel to look at it. I think that's the best way to go. I'm saying is that this is new evidence. This is something I didn't know. You didn't know that in 2016. Obama suggested, I don't like the outcome, that there's no evidence Russia was involved. Well, now we all say Russia was involved. But in 2016, they said Russia wasn't involved. What happened? Let's get a special counsel on it. All right, moving away from that, but feel free to weigh in on that or any of the issues we've been bringing to you this morning. A big win, this coming from USA Today of all places, saying that Colombia's settlement proves Trump is right about anti-Semitism. Trump wins again. That $20 million fine, or $200 million, fine will reshape higher education. In an agreement ripped from the pages of President Trump's The Art of the Deal, Columbia University has agreed to pay $200 million in fines to the federal government to settle accusations that the school failed to protect Jewish students from anti-Semitism on campus. The move is a capitulation to Trump's harsh rebuke of elite universities because of the rampant anti-Semitism unleashed on campus. This is a win for Trump, a scathing reprimand of higher education, and a message of hope for American Jews. This again at USA Today. Now, this has also made, Columbia's decision on this has also made Harvard rethink their course and the direction they've been going. If you had told me that Columbia would bow the knee to Trump just 4 months after this started, I would have laughed. Columbia's agreement to pay a $200 million fine is a strong indication that Trump was right about widespread anti-Semitism on campus. Even so, liberals have howled for months over Trump's targeting of Ivy League universities, and I doubt they'll view the Columbia agreement as a win for students and for our nation as a whole. It is, though, and they should. Trump also froze Harvard University's funding over hiring policies that elevated diversity, equity, and inclusion ideology over merit-based appointments. Progressives called Trump a despot in the making and an enemy of free speech, but Trump was in reality standing against a culture on university campuses that promoted progressive values to the exclusion of dissenting opinions. Conservative students were shunned, and Jewish students were targeted because of Israel's defense of its citizens. Columbia is now paying the price for that intolerance. Because Trump took a stand and took the heat from progressives and the news media, things may finally change for the better at Columbia. Ball to you, Harvard. You next? Great question. Also, these are just a couple quick updates. So now that Musk has gotten out of the White House and is now trying to focus more on Tesla, Tesla's not doing well, as we know. He seems to be handling everything very poorly. He's still attacking Trump. Well, Tesla takedown protesters have a new target. They're going after that diner that Elon Musk created that you may have heard, fully automated diner. I don't know if we ever had a chance to bring it up last week. For months, protesters have gathered outside Tesla showrooms in response to Musk's role in Doge. This weekend, protesters in Los Angeles found a new destination, Musk's new 24-hour Tesla diner in the Hollywood area. They're calling it an old-school dine-in, roller skates and rock music. Since opening on Monday, the retro futuristic diner with electric vehicle charging stations has had long lines of customers who are served burgers in Cybertruck-designed boxes. One customer posted to YouTube that he waited 11 hours for the restaurant to open. But Joel Lava, who has helped organize Tesla takedown demonstrations and has spearheaded protests at the diner, believes that protests could continue throughout the summer and that the buzz around the new restaurant will soon die down. Customers are waiting 11 hours so they can have Tesla brand burgers and fries. This is the world's most renowned anti-trans advocate who just opened a diner in West Hollywood. The community is not very supportive of Elon. Lava estimates that as many as 75 demonstrators joined the diner protest on Saturday. He said organizers began planning protests for the weekend after the diner abruptly opened on Monday. So there's another protest happening on the weekend. That one in LA. We learned of about a little under 24 people starting a protest in support of Stephen Colbert. Protest. Our main message is Tesla funds fascism. Elon Musk, via Doge, has destroyed our government agencies and people's jobs, and people are dying around the world because of him. Lava said protest attendance for Tesla takedown events peaked at the end of March, but has been going strong. Okay. Just an update there. All right, when we come back, read your comments, but also we have some updates on New York State. A couple of interesting things here about Hochul, the mayor's race in New York City. We're not going to talk too much about it, but it's worth mentioning because Mamdani is becoming a rising star in the Democrat Party, really becoming one of the many faces, him and AOC, of the party, that far-left socialist. We're going to talk about him. And a few things here about Democrats in general. Democrats struggling with their approval ratings, not knowing how to get their message out, or not maybe realizing that their message is not popular amongst voters. We're going to talk about that as well. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
It's 10 p.m. somewhere. Do you know where your kids are online?
Is this your mom?
Yes.
And that's your dad?
Nope.
I'm the father.
Even if you're the father, you're lying. My family does not like my boyfriend.
Solid family.
I've had enough of this. I'm not your mommy.
Now you're just talking crazy.
Don't do that. I'm not your auntie, I'm your mother.
Can't cross mama and come in here and get treated nice. Your case is dismissed, and so are you.
We've had so many wonderful memories as a family. Dropping Shelly off at school, I prayed he wouldn't get stuffed in a gym bag. Missy might have been the one in Little League.
I'm asking the Lord to watch over my little girl. Well, while you're at it, ask him for a win. I got money on this.
But Georgie is the one who threw us the real curveball.
I got a girl pregnant.
Oh, no. Are you kidding me? We may not be perfect, but to me, we have the perfect family.
You're Big Fox, WYDC TV, Elmira Corning.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
If you are one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. And let's go to the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of the program, where we read viewer comments. First up, good morning, Frank. Apparently I missed something big the first half hour this morning. Was there a new development without wasting too much of your time recapping? I know that the EU deal was a positive and a win for Trump, but it doesn't seem like we're celebrating this morning. I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Yeah, we talked about that. And that's a huge deal. Trump calling it the biggest deal ever made. Europeans will buy, the EU will buy $750 million in U.S. energy and invest $600 billion after meeting with President Trump. So that is a very big story. Otherwise, we've been talking about, Epstein, where that's headed. We kind of just in general, we've been kind of catching up on everything that we can. So if there's anything specific you're wondering about, let me know. Oh, here we go. Okay, sorry. I got mixed up in my list here. 24 protesters for Stephen Colbert. Wow, that's a half of his audience. Yeah, I don't even think, I think it said short of 24. So I don't even know if you could say 24. Comment from a different viewer. Just a quick comment. DEI is just another name for affirmative action. Whatever you want to call it. It was and is prejudice. The implementation of these types of policies have only served to make many throw up their hands and become complacent. Thank God for President Trump. Thank you very much. Comment from this is from Ken. Ken writes in, the real reason The Dems are trying to torpedo anything that Trump and the Republicans are doing is they're sick of Trump winning. Trump has had a lot of wins lately. That's for sure. That's why the media and the left are focusing on Epstein, not a news story, but focusing on it as if they didn't have 4 years to do something about it, but they know that they think, anyway, they're being told that this is going to hurt him with his base. I have my doubts on that. But your thoughts. All right, New York State issues. Governor Hochul and fellow Democrats are again threatening to rig New York's congressional voting district maps to win seats for their party. And in mid-decade, no less, in a clear violation of the state constitution. It's sleazy, anti-democratic, and it's illegal. Yes, think of these people as they always talk about being the defenders of democracy. And how many times have we had reports of what they've tried to do to stifle the vote? Remember, they wanted to keep Trump off the primary ballot. Not even their party, the Republican primary ballot. They have a history of these undemocratic moves that they hope will bolster their favors, because if you look at the polls right now, they are not looking good. Even Hochul admits it, but suggests Democrats may do it anyway, since Texas and Ohio are moving to draw up new districts in their state. All's fair in love and war. Remember, I mentioned that she said that last week. If there's other states violating the rules and are trying to give themselves an advantage, all I'll say is I'm going to look at it closely. So if Texas and Ohio rig their maps, that doesn't give Hochul and company the right to break New York's laws, even if her goal is to offset an advantage Republicans get in those states. Note, too, that Hochul is huffing not about protecting New York's influence in Congress, but her party's, and at the expense, presumably, of Republican voters in New York, since the goal would be to draw district lines favorable to Democrats. True, Texas and Ohio Republicans are expected to draw lines they hope will favor them. But if those states cheat their Democrat voters, those voters could sue. Hochul and her party are worried that if more Republicans are elected from those states, it'll make it harder for Democrats to win control of the House in next year's midterms. But again, if the donkeys think those states are breaking any law, they can go to court too. Meanwhile, if Hochul tried to gerrymander in time for the midterm, she'd be doubly violating the state constitution. First, redistricting can take place only once every 10 years after the census, not mid-decade. Second, in 2014, New Yorkers passed a constitutional amendment that empowered an independent redistricting commission and specifically banned partisan gerrymandering. But Democrats ignored the amendment and tried to gerrymander anyway a few years ago, and it took a ruling by the state's top court to stop them. We don't condone gerrymandering by either party in any state. It cheats voters, skews representation, and undermines democracy. As even Democrat boss Jay Jacobs warns, we need to be careful about democracy. You don't change the rules of the game to your advantage just because you can. Given the tight time frame, it's unlikely Democrats could even pull this off. But then if New York Democrats are willing to violate the Constitution before, who can be sure they won't break the rules again to push through corrupt new district lines in time? New Yorkers of both parties should demand Hochul take back her threat and obey the law. Now, speaking of New York and New Jersey lost $140 billion in income in just one decade. Call it moving van economics. And New York and New Jersey are the biggest losers in this. A new analysis from Unleashed Prosperity of the latest census and income tax data finds New York and New Jersey have lost more residents over the past decade than any other state not named California. From 2015 to 2024, New York has lost 2 million residents. These are giant population losses from two of America's leading industrial and financial centers throughout the 20th century. These New York and New Jersey refugees have mostly relocated to the new powerhouse states like Florida, Texas, and Tennessee. The moving vans explain why the Southeast is now, for the first time ever, the economically dominant region in the country. Even more problematic for New York and New Jersey is that the movers are taking a lot of personal income and purchasing power with them. New York, from 2012 to 2022, has lost $111 billion in income. Because that income is lost forever, except for the rare cases when the exiles move back, these income losses accumulate year after year. Why are so many people leaving the Northeast? Crime, cost of living, better job opportunities elsewhere, warming weather, and yes, to save money on taxes. New York, New Jersey, and California are the three biggest losers in the interstate migration sweepstakes, and they just happen to be the states with the highest state local income tax add-ons. The big winners, states like Florida and Texas, have no income tax at all. There's a warning sign that should be flashed. The place in America with the highest income tax is New York City. Now one of the leading candidates for mayor, Zohran Mamdani, wants to raise the tax on the rich by another 2 percentage points. When will voters realize that you can't tax a New York millionaire after they move to Florida and choose to pay no income tax at all? So you've got the redistricting. Well, and when you lose population, you lose congressional seats as well. So Hochul, after we get the report that we lost about $111 billion, pushing a far left agenda, pushing the changing of the political maps to benefit Democrats in the midterm. Now, will anything come from it? Democrats are desperately looking for a redistricting edge in California, New York, and Maryland. Again, undemocratic, this move. The problem is Democrats don't have many options. In conversations with more than a dozen state lawmakers and redistricting experts, Democrats' best shot at redrawing a map lies in California, a heavy blue state with a huge number of congressional districts. They see the second best option, New York, which saw Democrat gerrymandering efforts sputter in recent years, and Illinois, which is already a heavily pro-Democrat gerrymander. Far less likely options lie with Maryland and New Jersey, which have just 4 Republican-held seats between them. Discussion of those options come as debate rages within the party over whether to play hardball to the same degree as Republicans. That's how Politico words it. At this moment, it seems very clear that self-defense is something we have to put as a priority, said Maryland House Majority Leader David Moon. If that's where we are, that that's where we're forced to go, then I think that's where Democrat states need to be prepared to go. All right, there you are. Now, by the way, New York's draft energy plan admits the state will whiff on the 2030 climate goals. Remember, that's when many of the goals were to take effect. New York, once considered a national leader in renewable energy efforts, is conceding it will fail to meet its most significant clean energy goals, and critics say state officials aren't even trying. New York's Energy Policy Agency released its 15-year draft energy plan this week for public comment. While the plan acknowledges a need for more renewable energy and climate emissions reduction, it also emphasizes the need to continue relying on fossil fuels and making new investments into carbon-intensive infrastructure. The plan puts the blame for some of its shortcomings on restrictions and lack of support from the Trump administration, but longtime clean energy advocates say the state is barely putting up a fight and was already behind before federal opposition. We're missing the goals by a mile. We're just so far away, said Alex Bootcamp. The most damning part of the whole report is that they don't have a plan to get back on track. They're not even pretending to. They're just sort of shrugging their shoulders and saying, yeah, we're going to miss them. So there we are. We knew that many of these goals were no way that they could be reached. We've talked about that extensively with Assemblyman Phil Palmisano on this program, who's so passionate about the energy plans in New York and these unobtainable goals that Governor Hochul and before her Governor Cuomo put into effect. Speaking of Governor Cuomo, the new Andrew Cuomo has hit the streets of New York City, but will it be enough? Remember, he thought he was so cocky that he thought he did not have to campaign. So he didn't really put up much of a fight in the primary. He thought it was his. He thought it would be easy to walk away with it. Of course, Mamdani, surprise victory. Now Cuomo is trying to play catch-up, running as an independent. We've heard a couple of different mixed bags. First, it was he was going to be nicer, and then it was, no, I'm not going to be nice anymore. I'm going to be meaner. He tried to reboot his mayoral campaign, promising to deploy a more expansive and effective ground game than he did in the primary. So far, he's largely pounding the pavement in neighborhoods that supported him in the primary. Cuomo vowed to switch up his approach to the race when he announced on July 14th he was staying in the race as an independent. He conceded he played it safe in the primary and promised to meet voters where they are and be more aggressive in his attacks. Since the relaunch, Cuomo's campaign has posted footage of the ex-governor visiting housing complex in the Bronx and Queens, East New York and Brownsville, Staten Island, and on the Upper West Side, gravitating towards spots Cuomo either won or in which he was competitive in the primary. In the early stages of the general election, it seems like he is spending his candidate time in similar areas that his campaign prioritized in the primary. Cuomo is playing it somewhat safe by visiting places where he did relatively well. Cuomo has shied away from places like Williamsburg, Astoria, and Park Slope, where Mamdani beat him by wide margins, and the ex-governor is unlikely to break through, especially running on the independent line. Are we going to Democrat Socialists of America clubhouses? No, said Rich Azzopardi. This is a new campaign, and we'll be everywhere and talking to everybody. Some of the areas we've been in, we did well in the primary. Some we came up short. But in all cases, we believe there's room to improve, especially with a general electorate and more eyes on the race as we head towards November. The campaign noted that in total, Cuomo has been in 16 neighborhoods since his relaunch. All right. Now, Adams attacked Cuomo over the weekend. Listen, he comes from a popular name. His dad was a great governor. His dad stood up 3 terms and did a great job. In the midst of his obligations to the state, he stepped down, meaning younger Cuomo. Personal strife should not cause you to leave office, Adams said. During my personal strife, I stepped up. I continued to deliver for the city. Cuomo has long disputed allegations of sexual harassment by multiple women. That costing us, what was it? Last I knew, $70 million we were paying for his legal fees. He also has refused to really acknowledge putting COVID-19 patients into nursing homes, leading to around 15,000 deaths. He still has not apologized to those family members. He is still very arrogant about that decision. This is his history, and he's using the same playbook in my mayoral race. Adams said he ran in the primary. He lost by double digits. He knew I was going to run in a general election. Why would he throw his name in as an independent as well? Unless he thought he was going to do me what he did to others, and it just did not happen. His record has been painful on our cities, and I had to fix the mess. Now, GOP is making Zohran Mamdani kind of the key campaign issue in various races all over New York. We're going to talk about that when we come back and see some comments coming in. Running just a little bit late. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC or visit our website at WYDCTV.com.
It's a season of sharing.
Having a good time has always been my #1 goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the Southern Tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. And now it's time to go to the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program where we read viewer comments. First up, didn't the Democrats redistrict several states in order to not only get their comrades elected locally, but also federally? I don't remember when most states do the redistricting. It's normally around the census. We just did that a couple years ago. Remember what the mess it was? They tried to gerrymander here in New York. That was overturned by the highest court. So yes, it does happen. I mean, I pointed to some of those states that it's well known that they have fix the system, so to speak. Coming from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Drawing new districts lines is a great idea. We should give New York City to New Jersey and Albany to Massachusetts. Thank you very much. So Zohran Mamdani is becoming a kind of a key campaign issue. Gleeful Republicans will make Socialist Democrat mayoral nominee Zohran Mamdani a key campaign issue as they pound Mamdani Democrats running for election across the state, according to party insiders. GOP officials will tie Mamdani to Democrat candidates from Long Island to upstate with the idea the party will answer for the nomination in more moderate areas such as Staten Island, Nassau, and Suffolk, and even places like Binghamton. If there was ever any doubt that our city is headed in the wrong direction, this past Democratic mayoral primary election gave people their answer, Staten Island Republican Chairman Michael Tonina said, noting Mamdani will be a campaign point even in judge races. Zohran Mamdani is the official nominee of the Staten Island Democrat Party. In November, Staten Island voters will have a choice, whether they will vote for Zohran Mamdani's Socialist Democrat Party or the Republican candidate they trust. So this is going to be interesting. Well, and you could say that that's happened with AOC as well. When you have an avowed socialist who won the primary and most likely will win the general election, there's no surprise that people are going to run using that. He is an avowed socialist. It's something to keep in mind. Benjamin Orsekis from New York Times said, can Mamdani's message play outside New York? It already has. Zohran Mamdani's mayoral primary victory in New York follows wins by other big city progressives. Are voters more open to backing progressive stances? What they're suggesting here, and we've talked about this on the program, and it comes as no surprise, people in the Democrat Party, especially younger people, are getting very sick of losing, of having candidates like Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, and they've thrown up their hand and went for the more extreme, the more radical. They've went with the Jasmine Crockett's, the AOC's, the Mamdani's, because they don't want it to be the Andrew Cuomo's, right? I mean, Andrew Cuomo was in that race, and they didn't want the establishment. He's like the establishment, like Hunter Biden was cursing about last week. They don't want the James Carvilles of the world telling them what to do, or the Andrew Cuomo's, who, again, had allegations of sexual harassment against him, cost taxpayers $70 million in lawyer fees. We have, of course, him putting the COVID-positive patient in a nursing home, killing around 15,000 individuals, and he's never once apologized. He's very arrogant about that to this day. I think they had enough. So I do think there's something to be said that it's the weak candidates that led to Mamdani's win. But I also think you've got to look at the younger people and some of the Democrats that have had enough of the old guard looking for this more radical part of their party, the socialist movement. In the glow of Zohran Mamdani's convincing win in the Democrat mayoral primary in New York City, a common narrative has emerged to explain his ascendance. He was a master of social media. He was charming, attractive, and well-spoken. He and his team simply outworked everyone. But the emphasis on Mr. Mamdani's style overlooks the substance of his progressive message and how the city's voters came to embrace it, much as voters did in Boston in 2021 and Chicago 2 years later. Those elections, along with recent polling on issues like rent control, wealth taxes, and the burden of child care, suggest that many voters, particularly those in large Democratic-leaning cities, have become more receptive to progressive agendas. Mr. Mamdani, a state assemblyman and Democrat socialist, adhered to a simple message in his primary campaign. New York, he said, was in the throes of an affordability crisis, and he had three main proposals to help: make city buses free, expand free child care, and freeze the rent for stabilized apartments. The financial burden of paying for these policies, he suggested, would largely fall on wealthy taxpayers and businesses, a stance that has put Mr. Mamdani at odds with many mainstream Democrats, including Governor Kathy Hochul. But the size of his victory has forced some in the party to grapple with his ascension and whether to adopt some of his messaging in next year's critical midterm election. So according to the New York Times, this is already essentially the direction that the Democrat Party wants to go, that they want to go towards socialists. And this comes as the Wall Street Journal reported yesterday that Democrats' approval rating catered to a 35-year low. So we're going to talk about that here in just a little bit, but we have quite a few other updates on some of these elections going on throughout the country. A few things here about Trump as well. We can talk, as we've mentioned all morning long, a major story. Trump striking what he calls the biggest deal ever made with the European Union. Europeans will buy $750 million in U.S. energy, invest $600 billion after meeting with the president. Tariffs on many American exports will drop to 0. Duties on most European goods coming into the U.S. rise to 15%. So that was announced yesterday. In total, the trade deal, again, $750 billion in energy products. That's what the EU will buy. $600 billion in new investment in the U.S. The EU agrees to buy more U.S. military equipment. Tariffs raised to 15%. European pharmaceuticals not included. Steel and aluminum tariffs stay at 50%. In exchange, Trump agreed not to raise tariffs on the EU to 30%. 0 tariffs on all U.S. good exports to the EU. So that is that major announcement that came out yesterday. Wow, we got a lot of comments coming in. We'll get to those here in just a moment. By the way, just since we were talking about Mamadani and AOC and Jasmine Crockett, well, AOC is in the news this morning. She's being ripped by her constituents as her New York City district is overrun by a lot of lawlessness that the community is suffering, and she is nowhere to be found. Locals along the Roosevelt Avenue corridor have begged for help in the area because it's been plagued by rampant prostitution and illegal street vendors, fueled in part by gangs who got a foothold in the area due to the city's migrant crisis. Quote, I have not personally seen Ocasio-Cortez since she's been elected. I have not seen her in the community, said Rosa Sanchez, president of the Restore Roosevelt Avenue Coalition. I have seen her in a parade. That's it. Part of the avenue in the heart of the district that the high-profile Democrat represents in the U.S. House of Representatives, while part of the neighborhood crosses into Representative Grace Meng's district. Despite efforts of the NYPD and the city to clean up the troubled corridor, illegal vendors and merchants still have a foothold, sometimes peddling items stolen from local stores. Sanchez says the unlicensed vendors are putting legitimate merchants out of business. You have young women held against their will. They're being trafficked. This is not normal. Our community is suffering. All while, again, AOC nowhere to be found. Mariko Zamori, head of the Neighbors of the American Triangle, said AOC has never been helpful on the area's biggest problems as residents and businesses try to take Roosevelt back. Zamori met with Ocasio-Cortez last Friday about the illegal vending in Corona Plaza, but he claimed the Congresswoman said larger crime issues should be addressed by the mayor's office, the NYPD, and city elected officials rather than her office. By comparison, Bronx Representative Richie Torres has led the charge and personally called on Mayor Adams to clean up a notorious open-air drug market full of junkies in his area in the Bronx. There's nowhere to be found. All right. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Democrat Party. Again, if there's any topics that we've already discussed that you'd like to weigh in on, please feel free. All right, we got to take a short break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News. When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
The Fox Sports app isn't just any sports app. It's your sports app.
For the touchdown!
Yeah, yours. Your teams. Your highlights. Your scores. Your stories. Just choose your favorites to get more of what you want.
To the end zone!
And of course, stream your teams live. The best part is free with your pay TV subscription. Touchdown! Grab your Fox Sports app today.
Something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Sharing the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud.
7 and 7:30 on.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. And it's time for our Steuben Senior Services Fund section of the program, where we read viewer comments. Steuben Senior Services Fund, empowering seniors to age at home. Here we go. First up, where did I get? There it is. I'm sick and tired of the Democrats crying the rich in hopes that their constituents will not realize that they themselves are rich and that many of them have gotten so, like Pelosi, through less than honorable means. Again, those who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. But more to the point, if big business has the capital to expand, it would mean more jobs and therefore an increase in the government's tax base. Those who think otherwise are idiots. Not only are the Democrats embracing socialism, but by proxy they also support anti-Semitism. That is extremely despicable. Yes, it was Van Jones who said before the election that the Democrat Party is now marbled with this anti-Semitism. We were talking about New York State issues, so some of these go to New York State issues. Let's get to those. I moved to Tennessee for a long list of things, including Bible Belt values, lower property taxes, job opportunities, gun freedom, better weather. I bought property in 2015, 3 years before the real estate prices doubled. So it was a very wise decision. Mostly it was people moving from the most radical blue states, California, New York. I'm hoping that they don't bring their bottle bill, gun control, electric car, windmill, illegal immigration sanctuary, big government, etc. ways with them. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. I'm sure many of your audience has a 5-year plan to get out of New York. Still glad I have a place here in Corning, Elmira area. Wonderful summer weather. Thank you very much. Ken writes in, it's laughable that the Democrats are up in the air about Republicans wanting to redistrict in Texas. The Democrats allowed in and released millions of illegal immigrants into the country for 2 reasons. One, they wanted to increase the population in Republican areas with people they assumed would be loyal to the Democrats so they could increase the number of electoral college votes and increase the number of representatives in Congress. 2, they also assumed that these immigrants would eventually get voting rights and vote for the party that let them into the country illegally. But now they're seeing that the increased numbers are, in the short term, benefiting the idea of redistricting in these states. Thank you, Ken. We got some other comments I didn't have a chance to read yet. Yes, here's a comment from a different viewer. This area is too nice to level altogether. Thank you very much. So Democrats' approval rating has cratered to 35-year low, according to a Wall Street Journal poll. A whopping 63% of registered voters view Democrats unfavorably, dramatically eclipsing the 33% who had a positive impression, marking the lowest rating they've scored since 1990, according to the Wall Street Journal. That abysmal rating for Democrats comes against the backdrop of lackluster figures for President Trump and Republicans. Trump's approval rating sits at 46%, with 52% who disapprove of the commander-in-chief. The figure's higher than this point during his first term, which was 40%. Republican approval rating clocked in at net 7 points unfavorable. If congressional elections were held today, 46% of voters indicated they'd back a Democrat compared to 43% who would back a Republican. A majority, 51%, also said the change Trump is bringing has resulted in dysfunction and chaos compared to 45% who agreed the president was making positive adjustments. Still, across the board, voters preferred the GOP approach over the Democrat position on a range of key issues. Voters trusted Republicans over Democrats on inflation by about 10 points, on immigration by 17 points, and handling illegal immigrants by 17 points. In one unique finding, respondents disapproved of Trump's tariffs by 17 points, and Republicans still scored 7 points higher than the Democrats on that issue. The Democrat brand is so bad that they don't have the credibility to be a critic of Trump or the Republican Party, said John Anzolin, a Democrat pollster. Until they reconnect with real voters and working people on who they're for and what their economic message is, they're going to have problems. They teamed up with Republican Tony Fabrizio, Trump's trusted pollster during the 2024 campaign cycle, to conduct a survey for the Wall Street Journal. One area where congressional Democrats topped Republicans was vaccine policy and health care, per the poll. Democrats are still reeling from their 2024 election loss, and key figures within the party have openly vented that the party doesn't have a strong message or sense of direction. So again, Democrats' approval rating craters to a 35-year low. That's great. Their messaging is creating quite a problem, said one Democrat senator. Senator Mark Kelly acknowledged that the party had a messaging problem when confronted with a poll that found the party had its lowest favorability ratings in nearly 3 decades. We have to fix this. I don't put a ton of stock in polls, especially if they're this far away from an election, but we certainly do have a problem, and it's a messaging problem. The Wall Street Journal released a poll, like I said, 63% found voters' unfavorable view of the Democrat Party. It's important to get out there and talk to people about the issues that they care about. So myself and my wife, Gabby, sat there in front of a large group and took some questions from them and tried to explain to them, what's going to happen to Medicaid, what's going to happen to food assistance through SNAP. And there were folks here that I got the sense that these programs directly are going to affect them and their family members, and they do deserve an explanation from somebody in the United States Congress. Tapper also asked Kelly about the Democrat Party's official X account attempting to describe rising grocery prices under Trump's America using a graph dated from October of 2019 to 2025. The graph claimed that U.S. grocery prices reached record highs in 2025, with prices higher today than they were in July 2024 in categories such as dairy, produce, and meats. However, many X users pointed out that the graph, in fact, showed prices skyrocketing in 2021 when Biden was president and only leveling off, at the end of 2024 when Trump was reelected. So I wonder if you think Democrats have figured out their problems, both in terms of communication and also acknowledging that Biden-era inflation, for example, is one of the reasons why your party is out of power. Mark Kelly agreeing and said, yes, I think that's fair. There was inflation during the Biden administration. I tracked this pretty closely. Isn't that interesting? Of course, it was not reported on at the time. Remember, you'd have people like Don Lemon and others doing interviews, of man-on-the-street interviews, and lecturing those people that, no, according to government studies, there is no inflation, that you are actually doing very well. But Kelly continued, but I think what's important for the American people to know is that Donald Trump's tariff policy is very likely to increase costs. It takes some time because of supply chain stuff from coming in from, in some cases from all over the planet. And his trade policy for my constituents in Arizona, there are lots of products that come across the southern border, agricultural products that create thousands and thousands of jobs, not only in Arizona, but in the state of Texas. But Isaac Shore, I realize I got to take a break. Isaac Shore said Democrats, in that mistake that they made by posting that graph, that self-own is what some people call it, has shown that they've really learned nothing. But and we'll get to that when we come back. But I think with those disastrous poll numbers for Democrats, Mark Kelly says they got to get their message out. I don't think their message is popular, though. I think that was proven in November with the landslide victory of Donald Trump. So we've got a few more things about the Democrat Party in general. We're also going to wrap up today with some Trump updates on top of, as I mentioned, Trump striking what he's calling the biggest deal ever with the European Union. Europeans will buy $750 million in U.S. energy and invest $600 billion after meeting with the president. So your thoughts on that? I see some great comments coming in. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
William Mattar has a reputation for being a good guy.
Because I am a good guy.
For being focused on motor vehicle accident cases.
Because I focus on motor vehicle accidents.
For fighting for his clients.
Because I fight for my clients.
If you've been injured in a motor vehicle accident, it matters who you hire. It matters in the experience as well as the results. Call William Mattar. Visit WilliamMattar.com.
We've had so many wonderful memories as a family. Dropping Shelly off at school. I prayed he wouldn't get stuffed in a gym bag. Missy might have been the one in Little League.
I'm asking the Lord to watch over my little girl.
Well, while you're at it, ask him for a win. I got money on this.
But Georgie is the one who threw us the real curveball.
I got a girl pregnant.
Oh, no. Are you kidding me? We may not be perfect, but to me, we have the perfect family.
An albino buffalo was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Day one of the National Glider Competition. Severe flooding has caused major disruptions in parts of Steuben County.
Throughout the year, prison reform has become a priority around New York State.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Rick writes in, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Rick. Well, I'll tell you, the situation for those poor people in Gaza is nothing short of pathetic. Just can't get it out of my mind. People starving to death, not a building in sight that hasn't been destroyed by Israel, and the world stands back and watches. They all talk about how horrible the situation is, but do nothing. Then Trump tells Israel to finish the job against Hamas. That means more war, less shelter, more deaths, more starvation. The Palestinians in Gaza aren't the ones that slaughtered the 1,100 Jewish people in Israel. It was Hamas. So why have tens of thousands of Palestinians been killed by Israel and another 1.9 million Palestinians left without food and shelter? For all the suffering they have been through, you would think that they were the ones that committed the atrocities in Israel, not Hamas. You know, enough is enough, Israel. Enough is enough, world. Stop talking and start doing. Stop sending Israel arms to slaughter Palestinians. Send money to feed the people you have helped destroy. Do something decent for a change, Trump. You don't have to be a Republican or a Democrat to see that these people need unconditional help. Think about it, Rick. Thank you, Rick. Comment from Ken. Ken writes in, do you remember what the first thing AOC did for her district when she got elected? She stopped Amazon from opening a distribution center near her district. That would have employed hundreds of people with jobs that would have paid higher wages than in the surrounding areas. You're exactly right. And there was quite a few billboards taken up in Manhattan at the time. A lot of people were outraged by it. I think her justification was she just didn't like Amazon, and she wanted to be, I guess, judge, jury, and executioner about what businesses should be allowed to survive and what shouldn't. And you're exactly right. Comment from a different viewer that just popped in. Hey, Rick, October 7th matters. Angry emoji face. Comment from a different viewer. This area is too nice to leave altogether. Okay. There was a typo in the first one. I get it. This area is too nice to leave altogether. Corning and Elmira are far enough away from big cities like New York City and Buffalo, but still have a hometown atmosphere with most everything you get in the bigger cities. Thank you very much for all the comments coming in. Get your last minute comments in, because we are just about ready to wrap up. But Isaac Shore said, everyone makes mistakes. No, not everyone makes the same mistakes over and over again. Last week, the geniuses in charge of maintaining the Democrat Party's social media picked at a fresh wound and showed again exactly why it lost in the 2024 election. The Blue Team's official X account shared a line chart showing the change in prices of various groceries over time and asserting that prices are higher today than they were on July 2024. Trump's America, reads the caption. The problem, the last part of the line barely went up. And what it actually showed was a massive increase in price between 2021 and 2024. In other words, over the course of former President Joe Biden's White House tenure, I would just advise Democrats not to post about inflation given their track record, said conservative influence A.G. Hamilton. Might save them the embarrassment of having to delete their post after getting dunked on, which is exactly what they did. This is a gang that couldn't shoot straight, said Stuart Varney. And of course, Team Trump got in on the action as well. So showing at the end of the day, it's like watching a restaurant serving inedible food invest in new plateware. The gripe has never been with the Democrats' presentation or voters' tastes. It's with the product itself. Chris Matthews is saying that the country is moving towards Trump. The liberal former hardball host refuted recent polls from Gallup and CNN that put Trump's approval rating at 37% and 41% respectively, just above his all-time low after the January 6th Capitol riot. To be honest with you, the country is moving towards Trump, Matthews told Charlie Rose. These polls, they come out and show him not doing well. I don't buy that. His strength is still greater than the Democrat strength. He's a stronger public figure than the Democrat people. Former President Obama still has tremendous charisma, but Trump has strength. And I think that's what all the voters look for. They want a president who is a strong figure, and he's got it. It's just there, and half the country buys it. Interesting. Did not expect that from Chris Matthews. All right, let's wrap up. After this break, get your comments in. We'll be right back after this.
Is this your mom?
Yes.
And that's your dad?
Nope.
I'm the father.
Even if you're the father, you're lying. My family does not like my boyfriend.
Solid family.
I've had enough of this. I'm not your mommy.
Now you're just talking crazy.
Don't do that. I'm not your auntie, I'm your mother.
Can't cross mama and come in here and get treated nice. Your case is dismissed, and so are you.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Let's go to some viewer comments, shall we? Brought to you by Steuben Senior Services Fund, empowering seniors to age at home. Rick writes back in, hey, you know, I know October 7th matters, but you don't exterminate and starve tens of thousands of people who had nothing to do with it. Open your melon up and get real. Thank you, Rick. Comment from a different viewer. I'm not caving to the New York liberals and leave the Finger Lakes region. It's one of the most beautiful places on the planet. The taxes are high, but there are other things that we can do to make up for it, like making our own coffee, not eating out much, and using over-the-air TV instead of cable or satellite. Frankly Speaking is free TV and about the only thing worth watching. Thank you very much. That's very nice of you. Mark writes in, with Democrats' approval ratings being so low, they are grabbing at anything to get at Trump and the Republican Party. I would agree, Mark. That's what we've been saying about the Epstein story. Obviously, the Democrats, even Nancy Pelosi recently saying it's just a distraction, and then she was told, no, the new talking point is it's the end of the world. So a couple hours later, she came back out and said the complete opposite. It's not a distraction, that it's the most important thing in the world. All right, coming from a different viewer. Frank, enjoy the show. Well, thank you. Have a wonderful day. Well, you have a wonderful day as well. And finally, someone writes in, stay cool, Frank. 90s coming. Have a great day. Thank you. You stay cool as well. As we wrap up, did you see Trump's Golf Force One? The debut of that golf cart? President Trump's security team has debuted what appears to be a heavily armored golf cart 10 months after a would-be assassin aimed a rifle toward him at his West Palm Beach tea resort. As the president played at the Trump Turnberry course in Scotland this weekend, an imposing, apparently heavily fortified black vehicle followed close behind, with security experts saying it bears all the hallmarks of an armored, reinforced golf cart and the mold of Trump's official limo, aka the Beast. Trump drove a standard white golf cart as he played, but the bulky silhouette of the latest addition to his security fleet, which appears to be a modified Polaris Ranger XP, stood out like a sore thumb on the course. Just looking at the front widescreen, that looks armored. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Trump is calling on Kamala, Oprah, Beyonce, and others to be prosecuted. I'm looking at the large amount of money owed by the Democrats after the presidential election and the fact that they admit to paying, probably illegally, $11 million to singer Beyonce for an endorsement. She never sang not one no and left the stage to a booing and angry audience. $3 million for expenses to Oprah, $600,000 to very low-rated TV anchor Al Sharpton, a total lightweight, and others being named for doing absolutely nothing. These ridiculous fees were incorrectly stated in the books and records. You are not allowed to pay for endorsement. It is totally illegal to do so. Can you imagine what would happen if politicians started paying for people to endorse them? All heck would break out. Kamala and all of those that received endorsement money broke the law. They should all be prosecuted. Thank you for your attention on this matter. When he says that at the end, you know he means business. Thank you, everybody who joined us. Thank you for all the messages, all the waves. And we'll be back tomorrow morning, starting at 6 a.m. with Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV Big Fox. I look forward to it already.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Stu County Office for the Aging will be hosting a public hearing on Thursday, September 18th at First Presbyterian Church in Bath. This hearing is to review the 2026 annual implementation plan for the Older Americans Act and the Steuben County Office for the Aging. This public hearing will take place at 9 a.m. on Thursday, September 18th in the Fellowship Hall of the First Presbyterian Church in Bath. Copies of the plan will be available at the Office for the Aging.